Welcome to this explainer. We are going to jump right in and decode exactly why you might experience a sudden, totally inexplicable wave of sadness, anxiety, or just this deep unease right before you go to bed. Okay, picture the scene. You finally laid down, the house is completely quiet, and suddenly, out of literally nowhere, an incredibly intense, heavy blanket of sadness just settles right over you. It's a remarkably isolating feeling, right? Lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering why the weight of the entire world feels so crushing at the exact moment your head hits the pillow. Look, if you've ever felt the midnight blues, it's an incredibly common yet surprisingly rarely discussed experience that millions of us face the absolute second the lights go out. You've finally finished a really demanding day, you're ready to rest, and then bam, this wave of melancholy washes over you, leaving you wondering why this is happening and honestly if it's just you facing this silent battle. Well, I can promise you right now, it is absolutely not just you. There is a deeply fascinating, well-documented scientific reality behind this exact feeling, and we're going to unpack the whole shebang. Section 1. The Midnight Blues. Nighttime Depression. First and foremost, we need to get one thing straight. This overwhelming feeling of dread at night is absolutely not a personal failing. It is not some sort of weakness on your part. It is formally recognized by experts as a psychological phenomenon often called nighttime depression, or just simply the midnight blues. And it's way more than just a fleeting bad mood. This is a layered, highly complex combination of our immediate physical environment, our internal biology, and our psychology, all basically colliding at the exact same time. It's truly like a perfect storm that rolls in every single evening, forcing us to battle our own thoughts, our natural evolution, and our brain chemistry simultaneously.
Moving into Section 2, entering the mental vacuum. Reduce distractions.
So think about your average daytime routine for a second. Your mind is an absolute whirlwind of nonstop activity. You have demanding work tasks, ongoing social interactions, errands to run, daily chores, not to mention phone calls and notifications constantly buzzing in your pocket. Your attention is almost entirely externally focused. The daytime world is loud, and it forcefully demands your continuous engagement. But then, at nighttime, the world around you suddenly goes completely quiet. Every single one of those external distractions, the very things that were actually keeping your brain so busy and happily occupied, is entirely removed from the equation. And here's the catch. Without those daytime chores, texts, and social interactions holding your attention, you enter what psychologists refer to as a mental vacuum. And as we know, nature absolutely abhors a vacuum. When all that external noise stops, what do you think rushes in to fill that empty, quiet space? It's all the worries, the unresolved anxieties, and the really heavy existential thoughts that you successfully pushed down and ignored during your busy day. Suddenly, you're agonizing over an awkward conversation you had 3 years ago, or stressing about a vague email you got that morning. They bubble right up to the surface because, quite frankly, there is absolutely nothing left in your environment to block them out. Which brings us to Section 3. Your tired, shifting brain, circadian rhythm. Now, it isn't just the physical quietness of your bedroom to blame for this sudden shift in mood. We have to look much deeper into your internal biological clock. Your body regulates a massive daily chemical shift based entirely on the time of day. As night falls, your biological systems intentionally hit the brakes on your happiness while simultaneously slamming on the gas for tiredness. Your body deliberately drops your levels of serotonin, which is that crucial neurotransmitter you probably know as the feel-good hormone. And at the exact same time, it actively raises your levels of melatonin to prepare your body for physical rest and deep sleep. You are literally being chemically downregulated. So for many people, this invisible, deeply ingrained hormonal shift is actually powerful enough to trigger a noticeable, profound dip in their overall mood and emotional stability. You aren't imagining things when you feel a sudden wave of sadness at 11 p.m. Your body is literally withdrawing the exact chemical that keeps your mood elevated and stable, while simultaneously pumping your bloodstream full of a chemical specifically designed to make you lethargic and vulnerable. It is quite literally a biological recipe for feeling down. But wait, it's not just about shifting hormones. By the time night arrives, the specific part of your brain responsible for emotional regulation, your prefrontal cortex, is completely exhausted. The prefrontal cortex handles your executive function. It's basically the logical, highly rational manager of your brain that tells you not to panic over minor issues and diligently helps you keep your complex emotions neatly in check. Throughout the day, you use up an enormous amount of mental energy making choices. What to wear, how to respond to a frustrated coworker, what to eat for lunch, how to manage your finances. The list goes on. This leads to a recognized psychological phenomenon called decision fatigue, because your brain's emotional filter is severely weakened and depleted after a long, taxing day of making all these choices. You lose your fundamental ability to push back against negativity. So when those suppressed worries from the mental vacuum finally surface in the quiet of your room, your tired prefrontal cortex simply cannot process them rationally anymore. Instead of easily dismissing a minor, fleeting regret, the thought feels intensely overwhelming and catastrophic. Your rational manager has essentially clocked out for the night, leaving your deepest emotions totally unguarded. Let's look at Section 4, Echoes of Ancestral Darkness, Biological Evolution. If we trace this feeling all the way back, we can actually draw a direct, unbroken narrative line between early humans huddled around a vulnerable fire and the modern human lying in bed, glowing with the blue light of a smartphone. Historically, darkness represented a time of severe vulnerability and terrifying isolation for our ancestors. Nighttime meant predators, dropping temperatures, and unseen, life-threatening dangers. Because of this, humans are evolutionarily hardwired to be on high alert the very moment the sun sets. Today, we might have securely locked doors, advanced alarm systems, and electric lights, but that ancient survival link is still deeply written into our DNA. In modern times, with no actual predators to fight off, that primal ancestral fear subtly manifests instead as a nagging sense of anxiety, deep loneliness, or just a general unease that we can't quite put our finger on. And finally, Section 5, the sleep deprivation loop, a vicious cycle. Because we often feel so anxious at night, or perhaps deeply feel like we didn't get enough free time or agency during our heavily scheduled days, many of us engage in a very specific modern behavior called revenge bedtime procrastination. This is the act of consciously trying to reclaim control over your personal time by staying up incredibly late. Watching videos, playing games, or endlessly scrolling on your phone. It feels like a small rebellion, a much-needed way to take back your life from the demands of work and chores. But this behavior drastically reduces your overall sleep time. And irregular sleep cycling, or a chronic lack of sleep, actively cripples your brain's ability to logically process emotions the following day. So we end up trapping ourselves in a highly destructive, seemingly inescapable cycle. It starts with step 1, when you stay up late for that revenge bedtime procrastination, desperately trying to carve out some personal time to unwind. But by doing so, you move to step 2, essentially guaranteeing your own sleep deprivation. That physical and mental exhaustion deeply impairs your brain's emotional processing centers the very next morning. And because you are now walking around with an impaired emotional filter all day, it guarantees step 3, heightened irritability and profound sadness the following night. This, of course, makes you feel even worse, driving you right back to step 1, to stay up late yet again, to try and find some artificial peace. It is a completely self-fulfilling trap that feeds on itself night after night. So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to really reflect on as you examine your own daily habits. Do you notice these intense feelings of the midnight blues more on your packed, highly stressful weekdays, or during your more relaxed, open weekends? Ask yourself honestly, does your daytime schedule dictate your nighttime sadness? Think deeply about how your frantic, overloaded daily routines might actually be setting the stage for your midnight blues. And importantly, if you are currently battling this heavy feeling and need a supportive community to talk to, I highly encourage you to visit secondbloom.vip. Understanding the science behind the feeling is the absolutely crucial first step. But always remember, you never have to navigate the dark alone.